Just start with an opening comment, and then you guys can direct questions to any one of the three individuals at the podium here. So I thought downside, we obviously moved things up, anticipating that we were going to have some lightning in the area about the time that we were originally scheduled to start, and it looks like we were right. The downside is our young guys got cut short. You know, we kind of had their scrimmage chunk at the end, and unfortunately we had to get off the field. There was lightning within 6 miles, and so we had to get off the field. And rather than sitting in there for a half an hour and then trying to go out and get more work, we're just going to load those guys up on Tuesday and make sure they get a good exchange. I thought it was a really balanced day. Defensively, there were some guys stepped up. I thought there were some really good things in our red zone and our short yardage periods. Some guys stopping some guys. So we had a 4th and 1 challenge that the defense really, I thought, did a nice job in. Offensively, we were able to push the ball down the field on a number of occasions. Defense did what? You get 2 takeaways?
3.
3? You can get 3? Are you sure? Okay. Had the 3 takeaways, and that's always one of our goals as a team. And so obviously we got to balance this out. I mean, now it's time to go watch the film and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And I know the question will be coming about the quarterback situation. And really, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I can't really give you that answer right now. I think that's going to come through us sitting down as a staff, going through this, like I said, in a very detailed fashion, and evaluating that. And then if we're ready to make a decision, we'll make that announcement on Monday. And if we're not, we won't make an announcement on Monday. So that's kind of where we're at. Happy to take any questions.
I know you thought that maybe the quarterbacks would go live. Did you end up doing that?
Oh yeah. I think it was the second play of the scrimmage. Was that when Walker? Tucker might have a little whiplash tomorrow morning. So yeah. So yeah, they were live, and I think it was good for them. I really do.
Yeah, how much can you learn from situations like that? You know, you personally as a coach figuring out how they, work.
And how they respond. I mean, it's like, hey, Tuck picked himself up, dusted himself off, and went right back to work. And so, clearly that's what we're looking for. You always want to be smart. It's always that balance between getting the work you need to get and protecting your student athletes. And but today I think it was the right thing to do to let those quarterbacks be live so that they could feel what it was going to be like. And then we could truly get a balanced evaluation, and so I thought that was good. Isaiah, he ran the ball really well today. I thought Chad Cano played physical, and so, it was a good solid day all the way. I thought it was a really good first scrimmage. We had a handful of penalties, first time they've had the officials here, some holds. I think we had a chop block called, and it's going to be great learning for our guys because I think both of those were coming off of a second down play where we had the first down. So we went from like a 2nd and 5, which would have been now a 1st and 10. Now it was 2nd and 15, and those are great learning opportunities where look, just this one mistake that you make, how that is going to potentially impact our ability to continue a drive, and being in a situation where you just don't have, especially our style of offense, and really anybody in today's day and age. If you're dropping back and passing, these guys they're loving life, So no sacks today though. Derek. Anyway, click screens.
Did Tucker and Casey, were they able to roll with the 1s and 2s and against the 1s and 2s?
Yeah. I think I'm not sure exactly where it ended up in terms of the number of reps with each group, but they definitely both had opportunities to roll with each group.
What were some of maybe their strengths and weaknesses individually from today?
Strengths. This is like a real interview question. Yeah, I thought they both showed good poise. That was one of the things that I was really looking for. I mentioned, Tucker got lit up on the second play of the scrimmage, Walker coming off the edge unblocked, and it didn't really rattle him. He kind of dusted himself off, went right back into the huddle. There was some short yardage stuff. We're standing back behind the huddle and listening to both of them kind of, hey, let's go get this done. And that's the right demeanor that I wanted to see out of him in the huddle. And then the negative stuff, a lot of times that's hard to really say without going back and looking at the film, because I can tell you, hey, I don't think he made the right read there, but I haven't seen it on tape either, and so I want to make sure that we're not being overly critical. So, I mean, I guarantee you there were some negatives, but those things will be, hard for me to just say off the top of my head. I mean, we did have a couple turnovers, but they weren't all their fault. There was a couple that bounced off some guys' face masks and into the opposing team. I think the first one in the red zone, he just got to bring the ball down. I mean, Kev's got the best hands on the team, but he's not 6'8", so you got to make sure you give him a chance.
I wish I was 6'8".
I don't think it would match your game, really.
I don't think so either.
And your arms wouldn't look nearly as good.
No.
so much during the fall, we talk about mental preparation before game day, and the guys are ready. Do you evaluate that when it comes to the first kind of live performance for these guys in a couple of months?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought defensively, as is the case a lot of times in scrimmages, those guys kind of get, you know, they get their motor running, and I thought they had the upper hand early in the scrimmage. Probably had a little bit more juice, but as things went on, the offense kept their composure and made their runs, and it was good. I felt like it was kind of workmanlike. You know, I mean, nobody was going crazy. It wasn't too high, it wasn't too low. I thought it was very appropriate in terms of where we're at. And I've kind of felt that way about our entire fall camp, really. You know, that it's been, these guys are, you know, we talked about being a pro. I mean, they're playing pro football right now. There's no school, there's no jobs. That's what these guys are, and I think they've handled it like that.
Compared to, you know, your first season here, do you feel like there's a lot of growth in terms of that, you know, that workman, you know, just knowing what you're going to do all the time?
I think we're on a different planet from where I was 3 years ago. Kevin and I actually have talked about this on a number of occasions, and it's just hard to wrap your head around some of the, I mean, it's crazy, some of the stuff that we went through, and now you look back, I guess, somebody told me you'll look back and laugh someday, and I didn't believe him at the time, but now I look back and kind of laugh. So yeah, we're considerably ahead of where we were 3 years ago, yeah.
Were the defensive takeaways, interceptions, fumbles, how did it?
I remember 2 interceptions, and
I think Derek's.
I think he's making stuff up. I'm going to be honest with you.
Another phone play.
Yeah.
I'm mad.
I was just making sure. I might have got too much sun today.
Do you know who got them?
Yeah, and Munchie had one, and
Ty.
Okada. Yeah.
When you go evaluate this tape during the quarterback battle, you put more weight in today than you have the last 8 or 9 days.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to, but it's still a body of work, right? I mean, it's you know, one game doesn't make a season, one practice doesn't make a fall camp, and so I think that's important for us to kind of keep in mind that we're looking at a body of work. But certainly when in the scrimmage format, we're in the stadium, there's a few folks in the stands, all that kind of stuff. I think that definitely weighs higher, it weighs more.
Some of the most interesting position battles you have that going on, maybe not for starting spots, but for kind of rotational spots, particularly at running backs. Did you get more clarity there?
I think Isaiah's good.
Yeah. Behind him,
Well, I think Logan Jones is good, and you know, they complement each other, because if there's a weakness in Isaiah's game, it's his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, and Logan's exceptionally good at that skill. And I thought Demarius Hosey had some really good moments today, and then he kind of had his freshman moment where we're on the goal line and he's trying to, you know, slide step instead of pouring it in. He hits a 15-yard run to get us on the 1-yard line, and then tries to tiptoe in, and I think that was one where Cano smacked him pretty good. And so we had a little chat about that. I think he understands that, you know, what his job is when they're in a tight red zone. I thought Lane had some nice runs today. You know, Shane Perry's a guy that has a really good skill set that we really like, and then, you know, you throw in, I think Travis had a handful of runs, and even the quarterbacks ran the ball well today. So, and that's something I wanted to see. It's one of the reasons we made them live, and we still need to have that element of the +1 run game.
Defensively, you guys gravitated towards playing a lot more nickel last year down the stretch, and there's some guys that kind of rose up in that role. Sean Burgess, Ty Okada.
Yeah.
You feel like that's a good battle going on right there, and especially with what Washington's done, is Kane kind of giving you some extra stuff in the package?
We've got a lot more nickel in than we've had, and I mean, I'm not so sure that Troy couldn't play nickel. And so that's one of the conversations we've had is like, do we really need to have? So we've actually got 3 packages. We've got our base package, our Spartan package, and then we'll get into our nickel package. What is he calling that? It's not nickel. Ninja. Whew, sounds crazy. Scary. So we got some cool names. But you know, we'll see where all that stuff plays out. But we have a lot of depth in the back end. We have a lot of confidence in guys like Ty's ability to cover. Lavelle Price has had a great camp. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we have options with, and that gets probably our best pass rushers on the field more consistently as well.
10 years ago, nickel was kind of like just a third corner, third cover guy. Now you can play kind of a linebacker by the line. See it in the NFL. What do you think is that evolution in the versatility that slot brings?
Yeah, I think when you look at football, 11 personnel is going to be if you were to go top to bottom every level, that's going to be the most prevalent personnel group. So 1 back, 1 tight end. And so that means there's 3 receivers on the field all the time. You know, 15, 20 years ago, there was 2 receivers on the field most of the time. And so it kind of makes sense, obviously, that it's evolved that way. And I think a lot of it is just the style of the offenses that we see now.
Can you say which veterans might have had a lighter day or held out entirely today?
Troy didn't go contact. Josh was on his own pitch count, meaning that Josh decided when Josh went and when Josh didn't. love to have that deal. Wouldn't that be great? I don't know. How many snaps did you take today? I didn't see you in there much.
I wasn't in there.
I don't. Coach Hout is not here today, so I was the D-line coach, and I didn't even rotate him, so it doesn't matter. No, I think Josh and Troy were probably the two most guys that we were concerned about. We had a couple guys that were, still holding out with some lingering stuff that's not major. I'm going to let you guys talk to these guys. I seem to be monopolizing their time. So, everybody good? We'll see you Monday.
Kevin, can you just give an evaluation of what you saw from, in particular, Tucker and Casey?
Yeah, I just think the whole offense we kind of start off kind of slow and whatnot, and that's to be expected from the first scrimmage. I thought those guys, took some leadership roles out there, and that's what was honestly most important. I can't just say that they start off slow because the whole offense started off slow, and that's just not on them; it's on all of us. But those guys stepped up as leaders, and I was really proud of Casey, especially on that last drive, getting things going, get him in a groove, and going live for him, just getting more opportunities to get more experience. I think that was good for him.
In what ways, we were talking about with Jeff, in what ways do you think you as a program have progressed in the last 4 years, just looking back on, fall camp and things like that?
Yeah, it's noticeably different. It just feels different too. Just how we practice and the culture. I think that's probably the main thing in the culture. We come out every day. We used to have fights at practice quite a bit just because undisciplined. It wasted a lot of time and whatnot. And we come out now, it's like you said, like Coach said, we're like pros right now, and guys really take that to heart, and we get our work done. I think it's just a culture change, and like you said, we're in a different solar system now than we were back then. So it's good, and hopefully going forward, that's what it stays like.
Coach has talked so much about wanting to build a player-run culture, family atmosphere. How does that help you guys as players? What do you like about that sort of locker room environment? Yeah,
it gives us more control, and that's what Coach Cho wants. He tells us his job should be pretty easy, and it should be all on us. Which, if you think about it, he's exactly right. We're out there. They put us in good positions, and they do their job during the week and whatnot. But ultimately, we go out there on Saturdays and we put on the line, and I think it's more meaningful when it comes from the players too. If you're always having, we've all had those coaches where they keep pushing. It's always you kind of give a little pushback, but when it's coming from your players and guys who people respect, I think it means more. I think that's when, like we were talking about earlier, it's just a different culture now.
What role do you have to take, and the rest of the offense has to take in a quarterback competition? Are you just trying to help those guys along as best you can, stuff like that?
Yeah. Just being supportive. I think that's probably the biggest thing. At the end of the day, you can't. I'm kind of a quarterback out there because I'm just playing, but no. But there's one quarterback out there, so one of those guys is going to be signaling plays, and you just want to be there for both the guys, especially when all camp they're battling. And it's something that's noticeable about those guys is whoever wins this job is going to be really supportive of the other, and that's exactly, it's the culture now. It's changed, and that's what we're all about. We're all about winning games and doing whatever your role is to help us do that.
You've got against a lot of really good secondaries throughout your career. How would you evalue where your guys' secondary is at right now?
Yeah, I think we're really solid back there. It's frustrating sometimes because they've given us some trouble this fall camp, and we kind of have to take a step back and realize that these guys are pretty good. I think a guy who's going to be really, really special this year is Lavelle Price. A guy who's just a hard-nosed kid who just kept his head down last year. Now he's seeing it pay dividends, and I'm really excited for him. And especially having veteran guys back there like Quay and Conkle. It's exciting for those guys because they're going to have really big years.
You've played so much slots, and you got against a lot of nickels. What have you thought is the evolution of that position? It used to be like almost always guys like Jalen Cole. Now sometimes you got Troy Anderson to play.
Yeah.
What have you thought is the evolution of that spot?
Yeah, it's definitely changed because I guess I grew up more on a pro style set in high school and whatnot, and then coming here and playing more in the slot and seeing you know, they'll put a guy out there. It's like it's crazy. You'll have a guy out there who's 5'8", 150 pounds, who's super quick, and then you'll have a guy who's like Troy, who's super quick, super fast, but he's 6'3", 240. So it's just different. And I think you just got to think in the slot. You got to be able to change your game up and whatnot, and be able to kind of realize I'm probably not going to be able to be overly physical with Troy because he's a strong presence and whatnot. But yeah, it's different. And I think when you have a guy like Troy who can also play in the nickel, that's huge.
In terms of the quarterback competition, Coach Schultz said he wanted to make a decision so you guys have some solidification there. Does that matter to you guys as offensive skill players?
I mean, I would like to say it doesn't, but at the end of things, yeah. It would make. I don't think it would make things easier, but it would be nice and like just have an idea of who that guy is. But if they're not ready to make that decision and we still want to keep battling this thing out, which I mean, it could happen. Like that could be the possibility or whatnot. Then that's what it is. I think we feel comfortable with both guys, and like I've kind of said in the past when we talk about these guys is they're both pretty similar. Both tall guys, both strong arms. So not having a guy who's overly runner or whatnot or more athletic than the other. So I guess that makes it a little easier on us because those guys are so similar. We've been able to develop a lot of timing with both those guys throughout the summer and throughout camp.
I guess my last question is, having a quarterback that is going to throw more, I mean, does that make you excited for your last year?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little excited. Yeah, I'm excited for that. It'll, you know, we pride ourselves on being able to run the ball, and when you have guys back there like Isaiah, Logan, and even throw Troy in there, which tough guy to bring down. It's going to be exciting to see us be able to stretch the field, and I think that's kind of like the next step we need to take. And I think if we do that, it's going to be scary. It's going to, I'm sure a lot of teams in the Big Sky will be nervous to play us.
Derek, similar thing I asked Coach Joe just about the mental preparation before you go live. Is it similar to a game day, or how do you make it similar to a game day so it kind of is a practice?
Yeah, I think that's what we kind of tried to emulate today is make it as much of a game day environment as we could. And so even just in our timing, like having a team meal before, having similar meetings that we'd have before, same warm-up routine and everything. And I think even last night we talked about it, just trying to figure out what's best for your body, how do you mentally prepare, and using Friday night as what it would be like August 30th, you know, and trying to get ready for the game. And I think, yeah, I feel like it was a good opportunity to do that. I think anytime we go against our offense, we have a lot of good competition between us and the offense, and so it's a competitive environment out there, and I think it was fairly close, to be honest, as far as how we prepared and how seriously we took it. So.
Anything else? All right, thanks, guys.